Another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, gathering insight, inspiration, what really drives and motivates these top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, brokers, lenders, builders, developers, residential or commercial, really what takes their business to the highest of highs, separating them from everybody else, and what I would like to consider a real estate titan. Our very special guest and featured titan for today, Caleb David. Caleb,
hey,
thanks for being on the
thanks
show.
Thanks for having me, man.
Really appreciate it. It's an absolute honor. Yeah. So we're going to just kind of do what we usually do, kind of go through the engaging questions. Give a window to everybody out there who's watching who Caleb really is, and what motivates you the whole night. So I guess let's just jump right in.
Let's do it.
So I mean, introduce yourself. Tell everybody a little bit about you.
Yeah, so my name is Caleb David, and I get called David all the time. So I answer to both.
I see the confusion.
Absolutely,
right?
It happens all the time. So, but yeah, I moved here to Colorado Springs about 5.5 years ago. We were in a place where we thought, where do we want to live? Where do we want to raise our kids? And we wanted Colorado Springs.
Wow.
And so we chose the city because of the people, because of the beauty, and I just really have fallen in love with this community. So my background is actually the international development and nonprofit world.
Wow.
And so I thought commercial real estate, hey, it's a lateral move, right? Like nonprofit, let's see what you can do.
It makes perfect sense, right? Everybody?
So everyone thinks that commercial brokers are billionaires and all of that. But really what drives me and what I love about this job is how involved I get to be in the community.
Love it.
And so that's a huge part of why I do commercial real estate. It kind of fell into it totally by accident.
Okay.
A friend of mine and a mentor just came to me one day and said, have you ever thought about this? And he introduced me to the folks here at CameronButcher, and we just started talking, and it just felt right. And about 4 years ago, so I took the leap and said, hey, let's get into commercial real estate.
And you haven't looked back since. I mean,
no,
it's just been a roller coaster, but a good one. Right?
It has been a good one. You've got your downs too, of course, but one of the things I learned from the get-go was that you've got to work.
Sure.
This is not a hobby job. This is not an easy money. It's something that you've got to work. And the way that I choose to do that is through building relationships.
That's huge. And that's a testament to your brand and who you are as a professional. I want to touch on, us kind of getting together a little bit. I remember when I first was introduced to you, because I've known Sam for a little bit and that sort of thing, but what's really interesting is I think it was at a banquet, an award ceremony, and you got Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, it feels like a really long time ago.
Right. A few years ago.
And that was a huge, really was a huge catalyst for the growth that I've seen in my career. But the Southern Colorado brokers community has really, they've embraced, me, and being in a company that is so well respected has really opened a lot of doors, and that's been really important to my success. Right,
and I agree with that. I mean, where you're at, impeccable reputation, and you continue that legacy as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you.
So, but tailing into that, you coming here and then getting into the business, this will be a good tail into what's your why, Caleb? I mean, what really motivates you, gets you out of bed in the morning and saying, let's do this, to the levels that you do it at?
And so like I kind of mentioned before, my background is the nonprofit world, so obviously I've got a desire to make an impact and difference in our world. And really, when you work in such a hard nonprofit or type situation, a lot of times there is not a lot of money. Right. And so I was working 20 hours a day, and finally, this brings me to my first why is supporting my family. Like, I want to be able to support my family and do a great job, not just here but at home. And it's a balancing act, right? And there's always something for us to learn. But my family's a huge why.
That's big.
And the other thing that I noticed was, I saw different people that owned commercial buildings and that worked in this line of work that had the respect, and I just thought, how could I could do this but also not lose out on my passion, which is issues of social justice. And so I still run a nonprofit organization called the Table Initiative.
Beautiful.
And so that's one of my other whys, is I work this hard so that I can support the nonprofit. And so we work with social issues such as refugees, trafficked children, vulnerable women, poverty, and so that's one of my whys.
Right, which is a big one. It's a big one too, Caleb. You wouldn't mind touching on that just a little bit for everybody out there as far as the cause and everything that you're doing?
Yeah, so you're welcome to get more information at thetable.world, and just go www.thetable.world. And really what we do is we take people overseas so they can see these issues that seem far away. And we want to bring them home, and I want to use my business platform and here in Colorado Springs to raise awareness for what is a refugee? What does that look like? What is a child who's been trafficked? And we use these trips to get people there in front of these issues, so it's no longer an issue, it becomes a human being with a story.
It's huge.
And then what we do is we give people a way to advocate for those causes. And so hopefully that passion is spreading to other people, but I found that doing commercial real estate has been unusually a great way to kind of spread that word.
Sure. And thanks for the share on that, Caleb. I mean, that's big information for everybody. So I'll definitely have the link in the description below for everybody to just kind of check that out. But I think that going into it, that's a beautiful why is talking about your family and, you know, charities that you're a part of and really making a difference out there. And as far as I'm concerned, Caleb, that's a big reason why I would like to consider you a real estate titan, is because it's not just about production. It's not just about seasonality or longevity. It's about moral compass and drive and work ethic that you do above and beyond just the transaction, and that reflects, as far as I'm concerned, into your transactions, into your clientele that you work with. Absolutely. I think it just speaks for itself.
Wow, thanks.
So
I really appreciate it. It's a joy to do, and you know, to be able to have a career that allows me to do that, and to use that platform is really one of the things I love about it.
Awesome. Well, okay, cool. So going into, I guess, the next question that we're talking about here. So for anybody out there who's watching this right now, just to maybe give a couple pieces of advice, you know, from this as far as from a business standpoint, if you could look back on your career thus far and pinpoint maybe one or two things that you added or adjusted, if it was a system or a coach or anything that took your business from here to the next level, what does that look like for you, Caleb?
I think there were several things, but I think the first thing was having a strong mentor, someone who would take you under their wing and teach you the business. Okay. That's very rare in our industry.
Agreed.
And so that's huge. And so I'm grateful for where I am because of other people. And I think that's a huge difference. The other thing is, it's the hard work. It is the going door to door. It is pounding the pavement. It is building relationships. I probably did 3 to 4 coffees a week with people that I did not know.
Sure.
That took it to another level, because now you go out in the community, you can't be anywhere, and you see somebody that you know.
Caleb, what's
absolutely.
going on?
So that's really neat. And more than anything, it's not the being recognized; it's the sense of community that's being built within our city, which is special.
That's huge.
And I think the other thing that made a huge difference was getting in touch with you, and you really helping me with my social media presence, and realizing the importance of that role. That it's not the end all, but there is a place for it. And I would say that's definitely affected my business.
I appreciate that. Absolutely. You know me, I'm a complete tech nut nerd, marketing and advertising.
And I'm not, so that's it works out.
It's a good meld. We're a good team. I think that if you look at it from that standpoint, you had all the right tools, the fundamentals of shaking hands, meeting people, getting involved in the community, the hard work of knocking on those doors and setting those face-to-face appointments. That's fundamental. Adding the piece of technology to that is just an accelerant on the hard work that you've already done. So that's huge. And there's a lot of really rich advice out of everybody there. It's true. It's just the fundamentals. It's the basics. And really, people interacting with people and working hard, that never goes away.
Agreed.
So that's
it
really
can't be replaced. You can't replace it.
You really can't. You're like, no robots can do that yet. So I think that this will go into a little bit deeper of a window as to what kind of man you are, and I think that's important personally and professionally. When things are easy for all of us in life, we can kind of skate by and things are good. But when challenges hit our way, and speed bumps that we have to go over, I think that's what really separates you know, the top professionals or top individuals from everybody else. It's not what happens, but how you respond. So if you could take a look back at your life and a challenge that you dealt with, Caleb, that you overcame, that made you a stronger man because of it, would you mind sharing that with everybody?
Obviously there's a lot of them.
Sure.
But the one that stands out is, you know, like I said, we chose to move to Colorado Springs. And we moved here really with no idea. We knew a few people. Sure. We knew it was beautiful. But things didn't go according to plan. So we ended up not selling our house. It took 1.5 years for us to sell our home. Wow. So we're here, and I'm just like, what are we going to do? You know, we're running a nonprofit that's very nonprofit.
Sure.
You know, we are living in a friend's basement who were gracious enough to take us in with my 2 kids, my dog. You know, and we're living in our friend's basement, and you know, let me tell you, we got to the point where we had so little, we were on food stamps. Wow. This has been 5 years ago.
Unreal.
And so to go through that humility and just really having that who you thought you were being ripped to shreds. Sure. And hey, can I really provide for my family? To look back 5 years now, I'm really humbled and
Sure.
grateful for where I am today, but I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for walking through the hard stuff.
I agree with that. I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with that. And that's a challenge that I think a lot of people can resonate with. I
Yeah.
mean, tough times financially
Yeah.
and thinking about their family and their growth, making decisions that are putting us in certain areas. It can be scary, right? Hey, I'm taking a leap of faith. I'm trying to do what's
Yeah.
right, and things happen. But I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, look where you're at now, Caleb.
Yeah.
It's a testament into if you do the right things and you work hard and you're diligent at it,
Yeah.
good things come. I mean,
They do.
challenges hit all the time, but
Yeah.
you just keep putting out those positive
Yeah.
nature, you're going to get that right back.
Yeah. And I think in an industry that often is, I don't know if it's looked down upon, but I think there's misperceptions of commercial real estate.
Sure.
You know, and I think in the past here in our city, I've had other people describe it to me as the old boys club.
Sure.
Different things like that.
I've
but
heard it.
what I really want to see is the collaboration within our community and this new generation, and learning from the generation that's before us.
Sure.
And then one of the challenges I faced recently since I've been in this job is everyone thinks I'm 25. So
He's a little older than that, ladies,
older.
just so you know.
So, but I mean, next year going on 20 years being married, and I'm almost 40. I got married when I was 12.
That's it. That's what happened.
That's what happened. But no, I mean, that was a huge challenge to be taken seriously. Is that I felt like that was one of my, you talk about whys in a driver.
Yes.
Is I had to prove myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, there's a balance there of trying to prove yourself to the point where you kill yourself, and you get there borderline times even today.
Burnout, yeah.
Finding that balance between work, rest, and all of that. So that's something I'm learning right now.
Okay.
Is how to do that.
Yeah, and I think everybody can take away from that specifically,
Yeah.
and that's a constant, resonation in every Titan that's been on the show is finding that balance with family and work and really hitting those high goals. It's tough, but it's constantly working at it.
It is, and something I was actually talking to my business partner Helen and some of my closest friends and family just yesterday. The thought came to mind is how can I be fruitful in a world that is obsessed with productivity?
Wow.
And
that's deep, my friend. Hopefully everybody wrote that one down. That one's great.
And don't call me for the answer because I don't know yet. But I think it's important to surround yourself with people, not just people that are fun or that tell you what you want to hear, but that really challenge you and say, hey, you need to look at this. You need to back off of this. You need to set better boundaries.
It's healthy.
Yeah, it's healthy. And so I think that's something we all have to learn is how do we be in this day and age, everything's accelerating.
Sure.
And everybody wants more and more and more. But what about you? What about your soul? What do you need? What does your family need? And something we've got to learn together.
That's big. That's big. And that's huge advice for everybody out there. Again, challenges, we all deal with them. So just being persistent, consistent, and overcoming it, good things will come to people that put that positive nature out there. So, well, thanks for sharing that, Caleb. That's not the easiest topic to go through.
It's not. And I do have one more thing I do want to share. That is
sure.
Just recently in our nonprofit and even in my business, the thing that is pushing me right now really, really hard is my business coach.
Okay.
And Miss Yolanda from Corazon Business Coaching, she has been kicking my rear.
Wow. All right.
And, I had always heard about business coaches, and I'm like, please, this is for the rich and the wealthy.
You're like, really? Do I need this?
Yeah. I'm like, if you have a disposable income, get a business coach. I don't know.
Yeah, sure.
But I did not understand the value that someone like Yolanda brings to create the streamlined processes and the prioritization that we all need. I think so often we separate out personal life, business, and for me, nonprofit world, travel. And so to me, it was almost like I had 3 different personas that I was trying to keep up with.
Wow, rough.
And so I was like, how do you do that together in a healthy way and streamline your internal beliefs, your vision, your mission, and you make your decisions from that point. And so that's been one of the biggest things that I'm working through right now is setting up that vision and mission statement so that I'm making the right decisions with which clients do I take on, which clients do I let go.
Beautiful.
How do we onboard, how do we offboard? And so that's been that's huge right now.
So what was Yolanda's information again?
Yeah, she's with Corazon Business Coaching.
Okay, cool. Just for everybody out there, just in case you're looking for a coach, this guy shares he's good. I believe it.
Yeah.
So.
She doesn't mess around. She's great.
That's good. That's always a good thing. Okay, so let's talk about something a little bit different into that. And I like this question a lot because it's going back in time. If you could give your younger self a piece of advice or two? If you go back
Yeah.
and talk to young little
Yeah.
Caleb, what would you say to yourself? What would you advise your young self of?
Wow, I mean, lots of things.
Okay.
But I think, on a funny level, it's like,
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
take yourself so seriously, and, you're not what you do.
Right.
And I think so much so often we get identified with what we do, and people say, what do you do? Or who are, and we mix it up with who are you?
Right.
And so I would say, understanding what your identity is,
Mm-hmm.
and that being outside of what you do. Yes, that's part of your life, but it's not everything of who you are.
Sure. Wow.
We're friends, and you know things about me that others maybe don't.
Sure.
But it's not just the real estate Caleb.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be nonprofit Caleb. It doesn't need to be family Caleb. It's all of it together.
Right.
It's all part of me. But who I am, so identity I think is a huge piece
I think that's
of
big.
understanding that. So, and not to grab your identity from other people as well.
Good point. Being original.
Be authentic. Be
Yeah.
who you are.
Yeah.
It's enough.
Sure.
Right? I mean, we all make mistakes. We screw up.
Everybody.
And at the end of the day, if you can look at yourself in the mirror, I've got to post it right outside on my window, on my mirror.
All right. Here we go, everybody.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Change your life right now. I just have a little post-it note because commercial real estate is tough. It is very complicated.
Absolutely.
It is intense, and most weeks, by the time Friday comes around, I feel like I've been punched in the face a few times, had a few good laughs, met some great people, got a couple deals done, but you feel very much depleted.
Right.
And so I just have a post-it on my mirror that says, "I am enough."
Wow.
And I think we need to remind ourselves of that.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean we don't work on ourselves. Obviously we've got to work at that. We've got to become better people, be challenged, and read and educate ourselves. But I think that's at the end of the day. It's like, have you done the best that you can do?
Sure.
If you messed up, okay, yeah, I messed up. Let's move on. Let's do better. And one of the things we share with our teams actually that goes overseas,
Right.
and how they serve. It's not just about aid or doing something for somebody as the American heroes.
Okay.
So what we tell people is, once you know better, you do better.
That's big.
And so that's a huge thing I try to take into my job as well, is you don't know what you don't know. But
Right.
once you do, then you're accountable for it.
Absolutely.
So that's some advice. And I think the other piece of advice is that rest is not laziness.
Okay. That's a good point.
I have trouble not doing,
yeah.
and so this is something I'm learning. I've got a vacation coming up in 2 weeks
Oh, I'm so excited.
that I'm looking forward to, because I think we've got to realize that rest is important.
Mhm.
There's seasons in life. That's another thing that I was talking to my core group of friends and family yesterday, is talking about, okay, so if the world needs these seasons,
Mhm.
season 4, winter, where everything lies dormant,
Mhm.
then shouldn't we need to understand that we need that season too.
Wow.
There's a time to plant, there's a time to harvest, there's time to celebrate.
Sure.
But that's the hard lesson to learn.
Mhm.
My personality type likes to do
Go,
and
go,
go to
yeah.
the next thing and
I hear ya.
do all that, but learning how to stop and realize that rest is vital to our health.
I think that's not just big advice for young Caleb. I'm sure that he'd appreciate a lot of that.
Yeah.
But for everybody out there, watching and tuning into this, that is huge. Taking the time to recharge and understand that there's more important things to life than just what you do for a living. Is ultra important. You take the time, you'll be more recharged and ready to go, and you'll actually produce more. It's an old adage that a mentor of mine told me years ago. Take time to sharpen the saw.
Yeah.
You're literally chopping trees down all day long, and
Yeah.
it's getting your axe is getting duller and duller. Take the time, sharpen it up, and your job's going to be so much easier.
Absolutely.
Right? But if you just keep going, it's going to get harder and harder. You're going to get worn out. You're going to be able to chop a single tree down.
Let me tell you a funny story about that.
Do it, yeah.
So I'm calling myself out right now.
Okay, here we go, everybody.
So this is called, I've been holding myself accountable. Rest is important.
Yes.
I had the reality check of this day before yesterday.
Okay.
I think I just finished a 14-hour workday.
Wow.
Got up the next morning. I had to be up at 7, local event we went to as a company.
Sure.
To support. Then later on that day, I was in between showings, and I was in the office maybe 30 minutes. So I came in, parked my car downtown Colorado Springs.
Oh, yeah.
And ran inside, started working, knocked out a few things, and I was like, I gotta run to the next showing. I couldn't find my keys. And I was like, what? Where's my keys?
Where are they?
I like to know where my keys are.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I usually do. Well, I talked to Stacia here at our office, and I was like, have you seen my keys anywhere? What's going on? And I went outside thinking maybe I locked my keys in my car.
Right.
It was way worse.
Oh, no.
I had jumped out of the car, left the car running with the doors unlocked. and just went inside and came to work. I had no
Caleb,
idea that I had
get
done
out
that.
of here, man.
So it was a great wake-up call, and it's funny now.
Wow.
But in the moment, I was like, wow, it is important for us to take that time to stop, recharge, and rest.
For sure. That's a great story, candid story, which is awesome. That's always the best, and that's huge advice. I appreciate you sharing that. I know everybody else there appreciates that too. So let's go into, because you touched on it just slightly, but feeding your mind. You did mention books just for a second.
Yeah.
So what books you read and podcasts you listen to, maybe influencers, social media, whether it's now or into the past.
Yeah, my list is insane.
Okay.
It's really.
And I know you're a big reader.
I'm a huge reader, and I think that's one of the pieces of advice I give to people all the time is like read. So I try to set a goal for myself to read 2 to 3 full books per month.
Perfect.
And so my goal for every year is at least 30 books.
Yep.
And I used to just do just the business books, just the ones that I thought would make me smarter. But I realized that also in understanding that my brain needs to rest. So right now I'm reading Bill Bryson.
Okay.
His travel books are just phenomenal. He's one of those writers that you read his stuff and you're like, it literally makes you laugh out loud. But he's talking about travel, and that's a huge part of my DNA.
Love it.
Is traveling and seeing the world. So that's I'm reading that. I read lots of books about social justice.
Okay.
So some of that is pretty heavy. We've recently engaged in the Middle East through our nonprofit organization, learning about the Syrian refugee crisis, the Palestinian refugee crisis, and trying to understand the crisis from a human perspective, from every angle. So I'm reading a lot of books right now about the Middle East.
Okay.
A lot of books about Africa. Both my kids are from Ethiopia, so I love Africa.
Okay.
So for other books that I'm reading, there's a great book called The Wisdom of the Enneagram.
Okay.
And for those of you that have not heard of the Enneagram, you need to check it out. It really is, it goes beyond personality types and deals with your motives. So there's a book called The Wisdom of the Enneagram. That's phenomenal. I read a lot of Richard Rohr.
Okay.
He teaches on the Enneagram, but other things as well. Chris Hewarts has a great book called The Sacred Enneagram.
Wow.
It sounds crazy and weird, but it's just phenomenal.
No, this is good. This is good.
Because for me in my job, a lot of times you're just, something there's conflict. So I have to understand my personality type and how I respond in stress.
Right.
And so how do I get myself in check and respond in a way that's healthier? So I'm a little bit obsessed with that tool in my life.
Smart. Yeah.
And so I think for other realtors or people that are in high stress jobs,
Sure.
I think it's a great tool.
Awesome.
Podcasts. There's one called The Faith Angle that's really fascinating to me right now.
Interesting.
Deals with social issues within America.
Okay.
Currently, that's one. Typology.
Okay.
Ian Cron does that one. That's on the Enneagram. So there's some great tools out there.
Love it.
But lots of books about travel, learning. Brene Brown. I mean, if you want to get your butt kicked,
Sure.
read Brene. So those are a few of the ones I'm reading right now. But
That's a lot. That's a lot.
There's like 10. Like
Sure.
there's 10 books on my nightstand consistently, and then darn that Amazon Prime.
Gets you every time.
Every time. But I do have a wish list on there, so if anybody wants to.
Just in case, Caleb might put the link below. I think that for everybody out there, there's a lot of really great stuff in there to follow. Kind of what Caleb's looking into in education. I'll definitely put all those books and everything listed in the comments or description below, so that way people can kind of check that out.
Awesome.
So with that being said, Caleb, and this has been amazing. This has been chock full of information. This is a great episode. But to wrap everything up, this is always the last question. If you could sum up your brand, who you are as a professional, as a man, into a mantra or a quote, what do you live by? What does that look like for you?
Some of the values that are really important to me are compassion and justice. So whether that's in my work or in my nonprofit serving, to be able to have compassion for people. Because one of the things that I like to say all the time is you can't understand somebody unless you have compassion.
Well
and
said.
So that's a huge part of my job. We have to listen a lot.
Right.
And a lot of times commercial brokers don't listen, or they have the reputation of not listening. And so I think that's a huge part of who I am, is to really trying to seek to understand where people are at, so that I can respond accordingly. And maybe I don't need to respond. But I think doing things with excellence, doing things with authenticity, communication is a huge part. you know, another great business tip is call people back.
Sure. Hey, here's a concept.
I mean, I can't tell you how much business I've drawn by calling somebody back.
Wow.
But yeah, I would say compassion and justice is a huge part of who I am.
Okay.
And I think there's more parts of me than that, but I would say if I had to condense
Yeah,
it,
to sum it up, yeah.
that's what I'd say.
Okay, and that's big, Caleb. I think that's a testament into who you are as a man. I think that everybody got at least a little glimpses to the man that I know and respect. So that was awesome. I really want to thank you for being on the show, Caleb. I know you're super busy. But at the end of the day, I want to definitely let everybody know, and yourself, that you are officially a real estate titan.
Yes.
Thanks so much for being on the show, my friend. I appreciate it. So thanks everybody out there for tuning in. Your time and attention, always appreciated. Again, we go live every Tuesday and Friday afternoon, different location, different titan. So definitely look forward to catching all of you on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.